The day had been full, not just in the sense of a packed schedule, but in the way that every moment seemed to demand a piece of Ilara's attention, her energy, her very self. From the moment she woke, the world seemed to press in, asking her to be everywhere at once. It was one of those days that asks everything of you, pulling you in a dozen different directions at once. You know the kind where you feel like you're running a race you never signed up for, and the finish line keeps moving further away. The phone calls that needed making, the emails that demanded answers, the deadlines that crept closer with every tick of the clock. Each notification, each ping, a reminder of something else left undone. Now, with the house finally quiet and the sky outside painted in deep indigo, the day's worries clung to Ilara like a heavy coat she couldn't take off. The silence was thick, almost tangible, pressing in around her as she tried to unwind. She sat by her window, the cool glass a stark contrast to the buzzing energy still humming beneath her skin. The world outside seemed so still, so peaceful, and yet inside her thoughts raced on. The world outside was settling into its nightly slumber, but her mind refused to follow suit, replaying conversations and second-guessing decisions in an endless, tiring loop. Every word spoken, every choice made, seemed to echo back at her, asking for justification, for reassurance. She thought about the little things, the moments that felt like tiny paper cuts to the soul, the small slights, the missed opportunities, the things she wished she'd said or done differently. A sharp word from a colleague, a look that lingered a little too long, a conversation that left her feeling misunderstood, a forgotten task on her to-do list, a reminder note that felt more like a reprimand than a gentle nudge, the feeling of not having done enough, not having been enough. The weight of expectations, her own and those of others, settled heavily on her shoulders. These were the small stones that gathered together felt like a mountain in her heart, each one insignificant on its own but together almost insurmountable. Ilara sighed, her breath fogging the window pane for a brief moment before fading away. It was a small, fleeting act, but it was real, a sign that she was still here, still breathing, still present. It was so easy to get lost in this maze of self-doubt, to let the noise of the day drown out the quiet, steady rhythm of your own spirit. The world teaches us to measure our worth by our productivity, by our ability to keep up, to keep going, to never falter. She knew deep down that this was not her truth. Her truth was not anxiety or stress. Her truth was peace. Somewhere beneath the surface, beneath the layers of worry and fatigue, there was a place of calm that belonged only to her. But finding the path back to that peace felt impossibly far away tonight. The city lights twinkled in the distance, each one a reminder of other lives, other stories, other people searching for their own sense of calm. Tonight, the silence of her home didn't feel peaceful. It felt loud with unspoken pressures. The quiet was not a balm, but a mirror, reflecting back all the things she tried to ignore during the day. Every corner seemed to hold a shadow of a task left undone, or a goal not yet reached. Even the tidiest spaces seemed to whisper reminders of what was still missing, what was still expected. It's a feeling so many of us carry, this invisible weight of expectation. We move through our days with invisible burdens, rarely speaking of them, but always feeling their presence. We strive, we push, we climb, always reaching for something just out of sight. The journey is long, and sometimes it feels as though the summit is always just beyond the next bend. And sometimes we forget to simply be, to pause, to breathe, to let ourselves exist without judgment or expectation, if only for a moment. We forget to honor the journey we are on and to give ourselves grace for being human. We forget that it's okay to stumble, to rest, to not have all the answers. Ilara traced a random pattern on the fogged glass with her fingertip, a small, aimless act of defiance against the rigid structure of her day. In that moment, she allowed herself a brief escape, a tiny rebellion against the pressure to always be productive. She longed for a release, a moment of pure, unburdened quiet that could wash over her and remind her of what truly mattered. She yearned for the kind of peace that comes not from finishing a to-do list, but from accepting herself as she is right now. This feeling of being overwhelmed is a universal human experience. No matter who we are or where we come from, we all have nights like this. Nights when the world feels too much, and we wonder if we're enough. It ties us all together in a silent understanding. In our shared vulnerability, we find connection, even if we never speak of it aloud. Sometimes the greatest comfort comes not from words, but from knowing that others have walked this path too, that we are not alone in our struggles, even when we feel isolated. We all have days where the world feels too heavy to carry, days when the weight of our responsibilities, our hopes, and our fears seem to press down with relentless force. Ilara closed her eyes, trying to will the tension from her shoulders to release the tight grip of her thoughts. She focused on her breath, letting it anchor her in the present, if only for a heartbeat. She pictured her worries as tightly clenched fists and imagined them slowly, finger by finger, beginning to open. With each breath she tried to let go, just a little, of the burdens she carried. It was a small step, a conscious choice to seek a different energy. She reminded herself that healing, like growth, is a process, one that happens slowly, quietly, in the spaces between breaths. She knew she couldn't change what the day had brought, but perhaps, just perhaps, she could change how she carried it into the night. She could choose to be gentle with herself, to offer herself the same compassion she would give a friend. It all starts with a single, intentional breath, a conscious decision to let go. In that breath there is hope, a promise that tomorrow is a new day, and that peace, however distant, is always within reach. As if hearing her silent plea, a sliver of brilliant light caught her eye. It was as though the universe itself had paused for a moment, reaching out to her through the darkness, offering a gentle nudge to look beyond her immediate worries. The room, once filled with the hum of her thoughts, seemed to hush in anticipation. Ilara opened her eyes and looked up, truly looked up, for the first time all evening. She let her gaze travel past the familiar walls, past the ceiling, and into the infinite beyond, as if searching for something she had forgotten but deeply missed. There, hanging in the vast, velvety expanse of the night sky, was the moon. It hovered with a quiet confidence, a silent guardian watching over the world below, unbothered by the chaos of human lives. It was not a full, boisterous moon, but a delicate silver crescent, like a gentle smile from the universe itself. Its subtle curve seemed to hold secrets, ancient and comforting, as if it had witnessed countless stories unfold beneath its gaze. It shone with a soft, ethereal light, a quiet beacon in the darkness. The glow was neither harsh nor demanding, but instead it wrapped the world in a silvery embrace, inviting anyone who noticed to pause and breathe. Suddenly, the four walls of her room seemed to melt away, and she felt as if she were sitting on the edge of the cosmos, a silent observer to its magnificent silent dance. The boundaries between her small world and the vast universe blurred, and she became part of something immeasurable. The stars, scattered like spilled diamonds, twinkled with a wisdom that felt ancient and profound. Each one seemed to pulse with its own story, a reminder of the countless mysteries that lay beyond her understanding. The moon's light seemed to cut through the noise in her head. It was as if the gentle illumination could reach into the tangled web of her thoughts, soothing the knots of anxiety and stress that had built up over the day. It didn't shout or demand attention, it simply was. Its presence was a quiet assurance, a reminder that not everything needed to be loud to be powerful. It was a powerful reminder of a presence far greater than her daily struggles. The moon, in its silent watchfulness, seemed to say that there was more to life than the endless cycle of tasks and worries. In its glow, the emails, the deadlines, and the hurried conversations of the day began to shrink. The things that had felt so urgent just moments before now seemed small and distant, like echoes fading into the night. They lost their sharp edges, their urgency fading into the immense, peaceful quiet of the night. The city outside her window seemed to slow, its lights dimming in reverence to the calm that the moon inspired. Ilara felt her shoulders drop, her breath deepen. For the first time in hours, she allowed herself to simply be, to exist without expectation or pressure. This is the magic that is always available to us. if we just remember to look up. The sky is a canvas painted anew each night, offering solace to those who seek it. The universe is always there, holding space for us, waiting to offer its perspective. It asks nothing in return but our attention, our willingness to pause and notice. It invites us to see our lives not as a series of problems to be solved, but as a small, beautiful part of a much grander story. Our joys and sorrows, our triumphs and failures, all become threads in the vast tapestry of existence. Elara felt a pull, an invitation from that distant shining crescent. It was as if the moon was calling her to step outside herself, to become part of the night's quiet celebration. It was as if the moon was whispering directly to her soul, a language without words that she understood perfectly. The message was clear, even if it could not be spoken aloud. The message was simple: be still, be present. Let the world turn without you for a moment, and remember that you are enough just as you are. You are part of this too. The same energy that moves the stars and shapes the moon also flows through you. She rose from her chair and stepped out onto her small balcony, the cool night air a welcome caress on her skin. The world outside felt different now, more alive, more inviting, as if it had been waiting for her all along. The scent of night-blooming jasmine drifted up from a neighbor's garden, adding another layer to the sensory peace that was beginning to envelop her. The fragrance mingled with the crisp air, grounding her in the present moment. She was no longer just in her home. She was a participant in the night's gentle symphony. The distant hum of the city, the rustle of leaves, the chorus of crickets, all became part of a harmonious whole. This is what it means to connect with something bigger than yourself, to let go of the illusion of separation and feel, even for a moment, the unity of all things. It's about finding that sacred space where your personal worries can be put into a divine perspective. In the stillness, answers sometimes come, not as solutions, but as acceptance. The moon didn't erase her problems, but it offered her a new way to see them. It reminded her that every shadow is cast by light, and that both are necessary for the world to be whole. It reminded her of the cycles of life, of light and shadow, of waxing and waning. Nothing stays the same forever, and that is both a comfort and a promise. Just as the moon goes through its phases, so do we. There are times when we shine brightly, and times when we must rest and gather ourselves in the quiet. There are times of fullness and brightness when everything feels possible and the world seems to glow with opportunity. And there are times of quiet retreat and shadow. These are the moments for reflection, for healing, for simply being. Elara wiggled her toes against the cool surface, feeling the solid earth beneath her. She realized that even in darkness, there is always something to hold on to. Both are natural, and both are necessary for our growth. The interplay of light and shadow shapes us, just as it shapes the moon. Elara stood there, bathed in moonlight, and felt a profound sense of belonging. She was not alone. She was part of a vast, interconnected universe, and that knowledge filled her with peace. She was exactly where she needed to be. In that moment, under the watchful gaze of the crescent moon, Elara understood that sometimes the greatest comfort comes not from answers, but from simply being present to the wonder of the night. Leaning against the balcony railing, Elara began to breathe in sync with the calm rhythm of the night. The world below was hushed, the city's usual clamour softened to a distant murmur, as if the moon itself had draped a silvery blanket over the chaos of the day. Inhale the cool, clean air, let it fill your lungs, refreshing every corner of your being, as if the night itself is offering you a gentle reset. Exhale the leftover tension of the day, release it into the darkness where it can dissolve and disappear, carried away by the quiet breeze. With each breath, she felt herself letting go just a little bit more. The tightness in her shoulders softened, her jaw unclenched, and her heart began to slow its hurried pace. The moon, her silent companion, seemed to hold her in its gentle, silvery gaze. Its light was not harsh or demanding, but soft and understanding, as if it knew the weight she carried. She started to think about the things she was grateful for, not the big, grand achievements, but the small, everyday miracles. the little things that so often go unnoticed, yet quietly shape the fabric of her days. The warmth of her morning coffee, the way it wrapped her hands in comfort and signaled the start of a new day. The sound of a bird singing outside her window, a simple melody that reminded her that life continues, no matter what burdens she might carry. The comfort of her favorite blanket, soft and familiar, a gentle reminder that she was safe and cared for. Each thought of gratitude was like a small, warm light igniting within her. These lights, though tiny, began to push back the shadows that had gathered in her mind. These moments of grace are always there, scattered throughout our days like hidden gems. Sometimes we just need to pause and look for them, to let them catch the light. They are the universe's love notes to us, gentle reminders that we are seen, cherished, and never truly alone, even in our quietest moments. Often we are too busy, too distracted, too worried to notice them. Our minds race ahead, chasing deadlines and anxieties, missing the beauty that quietly unfolds around us. But in the quiet of the night, under the watchful eye of the moon, they become clear. The world slows down, and the heart finds space to notice what truly matters. Elara realized that her day, which had felt so heavy and difficult, was also filled with these tiny sparks of light. They had been there all along, waiting for her to see them. A kind smile from a stranger, a fleeting moment of connection that lingered long after it passed. A song on the radio that made her hum along, its melody weaving through her thoughts and lifting her spirits. The simple pleasure of a meal she had enjoyed, nourishing her body and soul, reminding her of the abundance in her life. She had been so focused on the shadows that she had forgotten to acknowledge the light. It was easy to let worries take center stage, but tonight she chose to shift her gaze. The moon's light seemed to say, "Your worth is not measured by your productivity. Your value is inherent. You are enough, simply by being. You are a child of the universe, made of the same stardust that sparkles in the heavens. The cosmos is vast, and yet you are an irreplaceable part of its story." This thought landed in her heart with a profound sense of relief. The pressure to always do, to always achieve, melted away, replaced by a gentle acceptance. It was a truth she had always known but had forgotten to live by. In the rush of daily life, it's easy to lose sight of our own intrinsic worth. We are not human doings. We are human beings. Our presence, our awareness is enough. Simply existing, breathing and feeling is a miracle in itself. Our primary purpose is not to accomplish, but to experience, to love, to grow, and to shine our own unique light, no matter how small or bright it may feel on any given day. Each of us is a lantern, glowing in the darkness, illuminating the path for ourselves and others. Elara smiled, a real, genuine smile that reached her eyes. It was a smile born not from perfection, but from acceptance and gratitude. She whispered a quiet thank you into the night. Her words were soft, but her heart was full. Thank you to the moon for its calming presence, for being a witness to her struggles and her joys, for offering its silent support. Thank you to the stars for their steadfast beauty, for reminding her that even in darkness there is always light to be found. And thank you to herself, for allowing this moment of peace to enter her heart, for choosing to pause, to breathe, and to remember what truly matters. She was grateful for her own resilience, for her capacity to feel deeply, and for her ability to find her way back to a place of inner calm. She knew that life would bring more storms, but she also knew she could return to this quiet wisdom whenever she needed. The worries hadn't vanished completely, but they no longer had power over her. They had become softer, less urgent, like background music fading into the night. They were now just distant clouds passing by in the vast, open sky of her awareness, no longer the storm at the center of her being. And as she stood beneath the moon's gentle counsel, Elara knew she could always return to this peace again and again, whenever she needed to remember the light within. Returning inside, Elara carried the peace of the night with her. The room no longer felt heavy with pressure. It felt like a sanctuary, a safe harbor. She prepared for bed not as a chore to be completed, but as a sacred ritual of self-care. Each movement was gentle and deliberate. She smoothed her sheets, plumped her pillow, and dimmed the lights, creating a space that was ready to receive her into restful slumber. The moonlight still streamed through the window, casting a soft, silvery glow across the floor, a final, reassuring touch from her celestial friend. She was ready to rest, truly rest, in body, mind, and spirit. As she lay down in bed, she closed her eyes and brought the image of the crescent moon back into her mind. She imagined its soft, healing light filling her entire being. She pictured it flowing through her, from the tips of her toes to the crown of her head, washing away any remaining traces of stress or anxiety. This light was pure, unconditional love. It was acceptance. It was peace. With every inhale, she breathed in this beautiful silvery light, and with every exhale, she released anything that did not serve her highest good. Her breath became a gentle tide, ebbing and flowing, carrying her closer to the shores of sleep. Her final waking thoughts were not of to-do lists or worries for tomorrow. Instead, they were thoughts of hope and wonder. She thought about the magic hidden in the everyday, the quiet invitations from the universe to pause and connect. She knew that tomorrow would bring its own challenges, but she also knew that she would have the strength and the grace to meet them. More importantly, she knew that no matter what the day held, the moon would rise again, the stars would shine, and this profound, peaceful connection would always be waiting for her. She was not alone in her journey. And so, wrapped in a blanket of cosmic comfort and inner peace, Elara drifted into a deep and restorative sleep. Her dreams were filled with gentle light and the quiet whispers of the stars. She had turned the weight of her day into a beautiful, calming story, a lullaby for her own soul. And as you read this, know that this same peace is available to you right now. Just look up, breathe deep, and let the gentle whispers of the moonlit night guide you home to yourself. May your rest be deep, and may you awaken with a heart full of light. Sweet dreams.